I cannot believe it. They said we'd never make it. I went
Yes.
early a couple of episodes ago, but episode 13, the difficult teen years, finally
That's right.
here for the
We're in the
podcast.
teenage years. This is
You know,
gonna be
we're in the
fun.
teenage years, growing
Yes.
pains, all of that.
Yes.
But
Well, and, what would be the better place to do that than at reInvent, right? To have those growing pains.
absolutely right. Absolutely right. So, welcome to the Amazon Connect podcast. And I say, first of all, welcome to my co host, Mark Redkowski. How are you, Mark?
It's been a little chaotic this week. It's got in here Sunday for reInvent, and it's I think I talked about this on the last podcast. It's just the fact that it's just you come in and you hit the ground running and you start meeting with customers, and we have our launches, and yeah, there's a lot going on. So
Yeah.
I had a lightning talk today on the floor. So yeah, there's a lot going on, from that
And
perspective. But
I don't know whether you scheduled it, but overnight I got you even managed to get a what's new out, not a what's new, a feature release out.
so we launched essentially the new capabilities for SCCAC, Salesforce Contact Center with Amazon Connect. We've now added Agent Assist, as well as contact summarization capabilities natively within what's now being called Agentforce Cloud as part of that. So we've enabled that, and it's a great experience in terms of enabling more of that native Connect AI agent capabilities within Salesforce.
That is magnificent, and anyone who's watching will know you have a friend with you.
I do,
So
I do.
so
So
proficiency-based routing has routed our specialist, Keith Ramsdell
yeah.
into the podcast. Keith, would you mind introducing yourself and giving us a quick rundown of what it is you do?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Keith. I lead product for self-service automation, workflows, and conversational AI for Amazon Connect. My analogy that I'm workshopping is that I feel like our product space is like the nervous system of Connect.
Yeah.
Allows you to connect, pun intended, your
Yes,
customer with your contact center with their with the human agents to really build that experience from beginning to end.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it because it's I think that explains something that I'm having trouble explaining to customers succinctly, but that
Mhm.
is how is it that Connect is expanding beyond the contact center or has expanded beyond the contact center to be that orchestration engine for the entire organization for any piece of work that anyone is doing at any time. And central nervous system is an excellent analogy, I think. We're not going to do what's news this today
No,
because
so
that's
I
just
mean,
too much
we
to talk
had I
about.
mean, there were over I mean, just to give people an understanding, like, we had well over 20 plus launches. I think maybe
I
30.
think we're up to 30.
30 at
I
this
think
point. Yeah,
the
right.
30 is the tally that we're we're,
Right.
we're going with.
So, we'll have a maybe next week, we'll do the special, what's new podcast of just all the what's new stuff. I mean, obviously, Keith's gonna talk about some of the stuff that he launched this week, which is gonna be awesome, right? And that's what we wanna get into, really spend the majority of this episode, going on. And I'm super glad that we were actually able to do this at reInvent, right? Because this is this has been our challenge, trying to squeeze this in. I mean, this is it's great that we could get this in. So, Keith, we really appreciate you making the time,
No, I'm super
you know?
excited for us to chat and long time listener, first time caller. Super excited for us to have this conversation.
Awesome.
I love the fact that you guys are in Las Vegas, famous as Sin City, super exciting, and yet you've chosen the most beige, bland room from which to present.
Yes.
You look
There's no flashing lights, there's no, like, casino behind
no
us,
I know we
dancing
right?
should have done
girls,
this right on the
nothing.
casino
Floor,
floor.
right, yeah,
We should have
exactly.
done this right in the casino floor.
Goals for next year.
It goes
Goals
for
for
next
next year,
year.
right? Yes.
So I want to know about flows. And what I want to know about flows is, and what I would love you to explain to our listeners is how you think of flows as part of Amazon Connect, because when people start using Amazon Connect, they realize pretty early on there's different types of flows and things like that, but they really think of them as I did for a long time as just contact flows, a way of creating the sort of call treatments and chat treatments for people calling into a contact center or contacting, what announcements you play, all that kind of thing. So when you think of flows as the impresario of flows, how do you think of them?
Yeah, I think the thing I would equate it to is kind of my analogy at the beginning, where they're like the nervous system of Connect. They allow you to connect different pieces of what Connect does. So think about things like our email channel or customer profiles or tasks. all of those pieces are connected together by what happens in flows, right? If you want to, based off of a certain action, to run a task, or if you want to use a Lambda to pull some information and then have that information feed into the next step of the workflow,
Mhm.
that's done through flows and a combination of flows working with other things. And so, to me, the way I think about flows is how does it connect the entirety of the system together, and how does it make it easy for customers to actually build, and then those experiences by connecting all those pieces, right? So you have the email and tasks and chat and voice, and you have these different services, and you have the analytics. So really gives customers a centralized way and consistent way of interacting with Connect services. Makes it easy for them to just dive in and start building off of what we've got within Flows and Connect.
Mm. And what
Uh,
would go ahead, Doug.
no, you go, Mark.
No, I was gonna say, what do you feel like from, I mean, we announced a ton of stuff, right? Well, what do you feel like is, from your perspective, what do you feel like is the most impactful, right, in terms of what you've launched around, your core capabilities?
I think the most impactful thing is kind of where we're heading with agentic voice.
Yeah.
And so, and I'll start with a little bit of a definition of what agentic voice is to us. So, agentic voice is comprised of three different things.
Mhm.
The first one is a more human-like interaction, understanding, and communication style. So
Yeah.
that's adaptive,
Mhm.
right? When we're happy,
Yeah.
it's happy with us. When we're sad, we're maybe it's a little bit more consoling.
Yeah.
There's that piece, and then you've got like the generative reasoning, LLM based reasoning to
Mhm.
understand what the customer is saying. So no longer is it focused on, okay, let me be really structured with Mark says this, and then I need to ask him for this information, and then this information, and then that information. So you have more fluidity in the actual reasoning and the thought
Right.
process. And then the last thing is the ability to take action,
Mhm.
right? So the ability to actually say, all right, Mark or Doug called in, and they want to go and pay their bill. And then I need to, in order for me to do that, I need to understand these three things: when they want to pay the bill, how much they want to pay, from what account,
Yeah.
that sort of stuff, and then be able to process that action autonomously.
Mhm.
And so, what I am super excited about is the launch of agentic voice sort of starts to bring those components to the forefront, but then also allows you to merge that with flows and the deterministic aspects of that experience.
Right.
So you can keep you as a customer can determine how far do you want to go down the scale of using AI versus using deterministic workflows, and then merge them together to deliver an experience for your
Right,
customers.
because I think it's super easy for customers to think like it's all in,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
on the agentic side, right, of those
Oh
capabilities,
yeah,
right?
we've
Yeah.
talked with customers all over the board. Some are like, we're full in, like we want to go full agentic, and we've got capabilities to do that,
Yeah.
right? Like especially with these reInvent launches,
Right.
all of those are native here within Amazon Connect. And then you've got customers who are like, I love my menus. My customers know how they get
Yes.
there, but I want to introduce a little bit more fluidity in the conversation to understand intent at the beginning.
Right.
Because that's the biggest
Yeah.
thing is like, I just don't understand what does the customer want to do, and
Yeah.
being able to understand that and then put them down the path to resolve their issue
Mhm.
is one of the key things that will allow customers to deliver a better experience, right?
Right.
Regardless of if you're actually having them automate their issues or you're getting them to an agent,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Because I think the thing that's really fascinating in these conversations is that um, you can go down the path of like trying to resolve issues autonomously, and that's great. And I think a lot of customers want to do that. What I think is really interesting is just really focused on how does a customer go through and actually present the right solution in the fastest way possible
Right.
and in the best way possible that's personalized to them, right?
Right.
Get them to the solution. If
Mhm.
the solution is a human contact,
Yeah.
great.
Right.
If the solution is a self-service solution and then a human contact, also great.
Mhm.
But being able to connect them with from what's the issue down to here's the actual like solution, that's where we're trying to
Right.
make it better for our customers to make that happen.
Awesome.
So, and I always like to be, or use this podcast as a way to be transparent with our customers and people who are interested. And so, I want to be clear about one thing when it comes to what Mark and I have been speaking about for the last 12 episodes, being Q and Connect, and what has happened to Q and Connect, and why we won't be exactly talking about that anymore, because it has been, even though the capability is still there, it has been swallowed up into AI agents because it no longer made sense to exactly what you're saying there, Keith, to think of a a service that was able to generate answers from a knowledge base outside of something that could take action on that, or fulfill a set of what formerly would have been, slots and intents and all those kinds of things, but actually do a transactional. So where maybe an MCP is invoked or those kinds of things. Can you talk to us about at reinvent what we're releasing now has, for those who've already tried Q and Connect, maybe made a Q&A chatbot, those kind of things. What's moved on in terms of at Rein? What have we released that furthers that capability?
Yeah, there's a couple different things. If we can't go back to like the idea of agentic voice, right? There's a couple of major things that we released that are delivering on that, and it's really the two prongs, the two ends of what I was saying. The first one I'll start with. I'll start with the actions capability. So we
Yeah.
released the ability to use MCP tools. And register those into Amazon Connect, and be able to leverage those outside tools. The other thing that we did is actually take flows and make flows be able to act as AI tools.
That is sick.
Yes, I was
So we
wondering if
could
you were going to say that
That's
because
kind
that
of
was
yeah,
what
so so
I was
that's
leading with
another
that earlier. But yeah,
there's
yeah,
there's a lot more that I want to talk about with full modules, because I know that there's some folks who might be out there like, "Hey, Keith, what about this, this, and this?"
right.
Can't talk about that in detail, but I hear those requests, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the first bit, that I think is important is the autonomous action, right? So we already had the
Mm,
reasoning capabilities, right? We had the
yes,
generative models. We offered those powered through our integrations with Bedrock, available for customers in that space using formerly what was known as Q and Connect.
Mhm.
So we added the ability to take action, right? To actually say, okay, here's a MCP tool. I'm going to use that tool to perform this task, and then I'm going to go.
Mhm.
I can now use flows as a way to accomplish this task as well. So that's the first bit. I think that is really important. That's what's changed since
Yeah.
Sunday night.
So
And then I think that the second bit is this whole more natural, fluid conversational handling experience.
yeah. Mhm.
And those are marked by two major releases. The first one being our integration with Novasonic,
Yeah.
and the ability to have a more adaptive, expressive speech model that leverages our Connect AI,
Mhm.
marries the best of both worlds, and then provides customers the ability to deliver those human-like conversations, really bring the entire story together.
Mhm.
I'm,
The
I'm
other
going to
thing,
get you, but pause there
yeah,
just for a
yeah,
second to remind people because we haven't spoken about Novasonic for a while. That is the speech-to-speech large language model that AWS released a little while ago now. But for those interested at home, so rather than let's say a Chat GPT or one of our other Nova models where you're expecting a text input and you're going to get text back or you're going to get an image back or those kinds of things, this is where you're actually speaking to the model. The model is, well, internally transcribing that, understanding it, and giving a response very, very quickly. So you don't see any text. You're not having to use a transcription engine or anything like that. Just wanted to, because sometimes we get so quick with our own knowledge of what we're talking about that we forget to
Terminology.
tell
yeah.
people.
Terminology, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think that the Doug, that's great. I think that the best part of that is that with this launch, it's natively integrated into Connect, so you're not worrying about
Yes,
any different service calls or having to like, okay, I'm going to stitch this together with a different telephony service, and then I have to worry about analytics, I have to worry about
Right.
configurations and management.
Yep.
That's all natively built into Amazon Connect.
yes.
I think it's like 3 or 4 clicks to actually turn it on in the experience.
Yeah.
We intentionally try to make it as easy as possible. And so as you're building your AI agents, as you're building your flows, you can go in and through a drop down, select that model and
Right.
be able to just be off and running.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mm,
And then the other thing that I'll mention, I would be remiss in mentioning is what we've heard from customers is yes, we provide a lot of great models out of box.
Mhm.
Like I think we provide some of the best models in the world out of box. But we've also heard is that some use cases, whether it's specific languages or specific locales, there's some opportunity for us to deliver
Mhm.
on what customers need. And so what we also announced is the availability of new speech models for text to speech and speech to text.
Mhm.
So new ASR models,
Mhm.
and those are powered by some of the industry leading partners of DeepGram and 11
Mm.
Labs. And so we worked with them over the course of the last couple months to deliver that to our customers, give them options, right?
Mhm.
So what we're seeing in the market feels like and looks like really picking the best of all breeds to deliver your overall customer experience, right? So that you have more choices, you have more optionality, you have more customization and flexibility, and Connects bring them all together to make it easy for you to just pick up and run.
I mean, that's we always talk about this, right? Like voice is the number one experience for Connect,
Mhm.
right? And I think Keith, there's a lot of pressure on you, right, to ensure that that you hold that high bar,
Yeah.
right, from that perspective. And it is this space is moving incredibly fast,
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely, and we're seeing startups and large enterprises look to us to figure out, okay, well, what's the makes the most sense, and what we heard from customers was, okay, we love what you have,
Yeah.
but here's some other things that we really love to consider. And so what we're looking to provide, at reInvent and moving forward is giving customers the ability to make the decisions that best make sense for their use case, for their business, for the type of experience that they want to deliver to their customers. All the goal is all that within Amazon Connect. You don't have to worry about third-party integrations. You don't have to worry about going off to a bunch of different services and then stitching it all together, because that's headache.
Yeah.
You want to just focus on building that experience that's tailored and personalized to the customer that you want to
We want them
support.
getting to the business value.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
let's not do the, let's not worry about the plumbing.
Yeah.
Let's not worry about the heavy lifting.
Yeah,
Let's let it
I would love for my customers to spend hours and hours building conversational AI and building flows.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I want you to spend the least amount of time
Right.
possible to accomplish your task.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit later, but we've also released features that are improving that cycle time. Once you've built this, how can we improve how fast you can get to production?
Yeah, so I was going to come to that because I think there's the you mentioned, and I want to go back to it, that one of the key parts of everything you're talking about here, because it's all in the one platform, because you can do it quickly, all those kinds of things, but critically, you're able to report on it, you're able to observe it, you're able all those sort of non-functional things that are actually what get you to production. The things being able to explain why it's working, what it's going to do, how it's going to happen, put a level of predictability and, as I say, observability in there, because it's one thing as someone who builds a lot of demos for a living. Really, it's really easy to build a great demo. You can pull things together with sticky tape and string. You can do, but how this is going to how you're going to live with this thing matters way more, and that's where all
Well,
that reporting and all the
it's
rest
even
comes
that,
in.
right? Like I think we were in an earlier conversation, and our customers are naming these, these experiences, right? They're giving these AI agents like real
Yeah.
personalities and names.
Personas, brand, like
Personas. Right.
it's a for all intents and purposes, it is a extension of themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they're finding ways to actually deliver that through their experiences, whether it's chat or voice or
Right.
email.
Yeah.
A personality that's built into that experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So the other side of that, and I think this is what you were, maybe I got it wrong. But I think this is what you were pushing towards. Is you snuck out as well some call testing and call simulation tools as well, which I love.
It was a little
Yeah,
like,
it was a little thing. It was a little thing. The team has been working super hard over the last year to figure out how do we deliver a way to validate faster.
Yes.
I
Right?
love it.
How do
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
to, okay, I'm happy with it,
Yeah.
and then you on top of that you layer on the I'm happy with it, and now I have all these generative agents that can actually take action autonomously. So you had, in the world before where everything was like, okay, press one to do this or say
Yeah.
this and that,
Yeah.
it was really straightforward, right? It was
Yeah.
relatively
Mm.
straightforward.
Yes. Yes.
Now
Mhm.
you have a universe of things, and you have to be very explicit with what it can and sometimes cannot do. And so what we've released as a part of reInvent is our call simulation and testing capabilities.
Mm.
So you can go into Amazon Connect. It's very similar to the Flow Designer. So
Okay.
go in
It's
and
inspiration.
yeah,
per
it's
se, right?
inspiration. It's like the team built the same. It's like the same team built these capabilities.
Uh-huh.
But the whole goal here is for us to make it easy for you to say, here's what I want to have happen. I want the AI agent to say this. I want them to say that. I want them to do this under these conditions. All of these
So
different
you're
scenarios.
describing.
Yeah, you're describing. You're basically describing it in a workflow
Yeah.
view, so that you can say, hey, what listen to this, make sure that this is said, like either a policy or a welcome message or whatever that is.
Right.
Make sure that is said, and then when that happens, do this. And you can build out those scenarios and actually see all of this in a workflow, and then you can actually run the test. You can run several at a time, and then you can get a report at the end that actually says, oh, hey, this is where you had issues.
Okay.
And go back and like troubleshoot that experience. And as we were talking through with our customers, some of the personas that stood out, we have QA analysts.
Okay.
Right? QA analysts that are just, they don't know about the flows. They don't know about the conversational AI.
Right.
They're just like there to say, take the order. I call in. I hear this. If I hear this, I do this. If I hear this, I do that. And then I tell them a pass or fail.
Right.
And so those folks are maybe a little bit further away from the actual experience. And then you have like the developers who are in there like building this stuff, and they want to be able to rapidly test and see that. And so this launch with call simulation is really us taking that first step to, again, building that entire build, test, optimize experience
Right.
natively within Connect, and making it so much simpler than it was before to actually complete that
Well,
task.
and I think that's what people don't realize is these AI agents. I mean, it's great that the speed at which you can build these experiences, but the speed now at which you have to test them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and the
Now
universe of things that you have to
you
test
test,
is
right.
so significantly more,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah,
have to think about, well, what if a person says this, right? Imagine all the stuff that you see on like the commercial side
yeah.
of an interaction with an AI agent or a
Mhm.
generative AI, and then now you have to do that for your business,
Yeah,
right? You get to
yeah.
expect that people are going to test your
Well,
systems.
and even the nuances of now, with your AI agents having pausing, right? They can
Yeah.
pause. They have that more natural sounding, right,
Hmm.
voice is part of it. Like, how do you test that? How do you validate, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's it's
It's a tough it's a really tough thing, and so what customers have been doing is just like they literally listen to the call. I had
yeah,
one customer say, "Yeah, we call it dial for dollars,"
right.
and they just go through and they just listen to everything, and it's saying the amount of effort that it takes to actually get there, and I
Yeah,
think that's like the hidden cost for all of this
yeah,
is okay, that's great. It looks magical, like
yeah,
Doug you were saying, like
yeah.
the demo looks
Mhm.
magical, and then you could like unpack exactly how to do all of this and implement it and actually do it at scale and reliably,
Yeah,
it becomes a little bit more of a
yeah.
challenge, right? It makes it a
Well,
little bit more
and I
difficult.
It's not only a challenge. It's the number one impediment I think I'm seeing with customers to getting to production. Is that they build something and then they get to this point. It's like, well, because there is a naturally a, for want of a better term, a creative element to generative AI.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so at that point, how do I know that it's not hallucinating? How do I know what's how do I test this? How do I that's where people get to, and then it just stops because until now there really hasn't been a way to do it. Sorry, Mark, I cut you off there.
no, 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 it's all good. I think, like you said, you snuck this out, right? But I feel like this is just the first step,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That we're going down in this journey as
A
this
a
space continues to evolve.
absolutely, absolutely. Like, I know we don't typically comment publicly on our
No,
roadmaps,
of course not.
but I assume folks could, like, see what the thought process here in terms of what we think is really important,
Yes.
and what I would love to do is be able to make it easy for you to actually validate the outcomes, and the thing that I think, Doug, you were mentioning this a little bit earlier, and we were talking a little bit about flows. This is all built on flows.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
So flows is the overall orchestration. So not only do you get all the analytics, the logging,
Yeah,
all that is in one centralized location, and now you have a testing and simulation capability that sits on top of that.
yeah,
And so you also mentioned a little bit earlier, Doug. You were talking about like the expansion of Connect into other different workloads, and there's some
Hmm.
launches that were in the in our announcements that are expanding to that
yeah,
level.
yep,
And the thing is, all of those are underlying they're leveraging flows
yeah,
and the orchestration layers that we've provided in that experience. And I think the beauty again of all of that is okay, now I have logs,
mhm,
now I have
Yes.
analytics.
yeah,
Now I have a
Yes.
standard way of interfacing with these things.
yeah,
Now I have standard
mhm,
actions.
mhm,
Journeys, which we announced as well,
yeah,
is
yep,
also built on the flow orchestration engine and on the flow designer.
mhm,
And
And we
so a
also
lot of
have
these
flow analytics as well, the
yeah,
actual
yeah,
monitoring
on
of
the
the flow
actual
itself.
yeah,
Yeah.
on the actual designer, you can see the individual steps that our customers are taking.
yeah,
So the idea here is that by using these common pieces, you're able to actually craft these experiences much faster, right? That whole cycle time from ideation to testing and then deploying and then analyzing it and back all over again. That's where I think customers will see a ton of value.
it's the flywheel.
Yeah, get that flywheel spinning
Yeah,
super quickly
yeah,
because I think, especially in this generative agentic world, you're going to want to test rapidly,
yeah,
right? You're going to want to test very quickly different models, different providers,
yeah,
different structures,
yes,
different AI prompts, different tools that you're using.
yeah,
All of this stuff comes together, and I feel like sometimes we forget that this entire system is massive,
yeah,
and the experience that the customer sees is amalgamation of all of these different things that you're doing, all the services, all the models, all the providers, all of that stuff. Even the telephony layer is a
yeah,
huge consideration,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so we're looking again to try and make it so that it's really simple for a customer to make those decisions.
And and it's funny, right? We have this conversation all the time with, this space is, as I mentioned earlier, it's changing so fast, right? There's obviously
Hmm.
this reinvent has been hugely important for us, right?
Yeah.
Because now we're really planting the flag around our agentic capabilities,
Mhm.
which I think is super important because, we know customers come to us often and saying we want to use our third party experience as part of that, right? And I think, it's one thing to focus on that particular aspect of the voice experience, but it's
Yeah.
just a bigger picture, right? It's like, how do I do this in a way that scales, right? That I
Mm.
have that ability to, innovate quickly and have the visibility to, is this truly solving the problems, right? With that
Yep.
customers are coming into, right? And offloading, from my real human agents from that
Yep.
perspective. And I think that is, to me, that is a super important part that I think,
Well,
as we come out of reinvent is,
Yeah.
we're starting to differentiate on.
it all comes back to the foundational tenets of Amazon Connect, specifically and AWS generally. And I remember learning, 8 years ago when I started the 5 reasons to move to the cloud. Scalability, agility, reliability, go global in minutes, and of course, I think sustainability. I've forgotten the 5th one. That's embarrassing. Anyway, but
Not testing deck, it's fine.
it all comes back. Everything we do comes back to those. And when someone asks me a question about why do you include carriage in the platform, why have you done this? Why have you? And everything you're talking about here, Keith, actually reminds me of that we're getting out of our customers' way. We're getting them to their outcome faster. It's the go global in minutes. It's the scalability. It's the reliability. It's this it's this idea that we are trying to take all of these things off the critical path of your project. So it builds on that same thing of being able to build a contact center in minutes. You stand up an instance of Amazon Connect if you're doing it really slowly in 5 minutes. And everything, you don't have to worry about that. And so, I was having a conversation with a customer yesterday who said, "Oh, we want to try and POC a particular integration with a platform before Christmas. Can we do that?" And I was like, "Well, there's nothing stopping it on our end. Ready to go. You don't have to cut a license file or get a key or anything." What you're talking about here is moving that from the infrastructure layer now all the way up to the application layer and to the actual outcome layer, where we're just removing all these impediments. And so I'm Mark is used to me going off on these
Doug
tangents.
has this little, we like to let
yeah,
Doug.
these
I dig
flights
it.
are
I dig
fancy.
it.
Yeah, but I think the where I was going to land on this one on my way back is you've spoken about the reporting and the being able to test your bots, or not even bot, your experiences as they are end to end, being able to go through and make sure you've got, there's some veracity to your testing and explainability, observability. We've also then, and we did mention this in the last podcast, but it kind of closes out the story, which is the conversational analytics and the evaluations extending
Yeah.
to self-service. So once you've launched, you're still able to get quantitative data. What percent, how are my bots performing, or how my experience is performing for my customers. Got to stop saying bots. And then also the qualitative information where someone calls up and says, "Hey, I had a bad experience." Something, or I was given wrong information, whatever it is that they say, that you're able to go back and find that exact call, and you can find out what the automated side happened, where the information was, what things are like. It's not like it's just like, well, I don't know what happened. Maybe it swore at you. I don't know. Did
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Like, you can go back, and so that those evaluations, I think, are um, they're just so powerful, both for your human agents and your AI agents. And it would be fascinating to see over the coming months as customers go live with all of this stuff, how the performance of the automated interaction is rated against the performance of the human interaction, and who's doing
Yeah.
better and who's actually getting better outcomes, and what you can tweak, and can we improve the training of the humans? Can we improve the training of the automated side, and all these kinds of things? And if we change this bit, what happens to the next bit? You could get lost in that data just looking at it.
Yeah. Doug, you're speaking my language, man. This is where it gets so fascinating for what's to come, right? So I'll go one step further, and again, this is not talking about roadmap, but this is just talking about like thoughts here of
Yeah.
of
Yep.
how this interaction plays out, right? What I really like, I think the world of just being like, oh yeah, containment rate,
Yeah.
resolution
Mm.
rate.
Yeah.
That's legacy stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's a legacy metric.
Yeah.
What I really want to know is like the number of times somebody called in, spent spent time in my IVR, or my chat experience, or my conversational AI experience, whatever that is, and then was presented a solution, and then that solution was effective and resolved their issue, and they didn't contact again for an extra amount of reasons, right?
Yes.
So you're taking a step back from the individual contact or the experience, and you're actually looking at evaluating the entirety of their interaction and life with you as a
Yes,
business,
right,
right?
yes.
So this is where it gets super powerful when you start having things like self-service evaluations, because now you have another piece of the interaction in play. You can pair that with your agent evaluations, and then we can take a step back and say, okay, what about that entire relationship
Yes.
that we just had, that entire interaction that we just had? How should I think about that?
Mhm.
And then when we look to the future, how do I start analyzing that over time? How do we start
Mhm.
providing AI with context over time that I can say, oh, yeah, that conversation that we had 3 weeks ago about that
Mhm.
topic, I remember. Are you calling about that thing?
Right.
was that an issue? Was that resolved? Oh, no, no, no. I got another thing. Okay. Oh, okay. Great. Let's talk about that one.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
And so it gets really, really fascinating where you can start. The thing that I really want to provide is ability for customers to figure out like what's their objective measures and then what's their subjective measures.
Mm.
Because all of
Yeah.
us, I think, would have a different definition.
Yeah.
I talked with a customer and I was like, "Hey, so how do you define containment?" And they were like, "Well, I got 50 different teams and they all have like 3 or 4 different definitions of it." And so what we
Mm.
really want to do, and that's why the evaluations are so powerful, is that you can start to define those specific experiences,
Mhm.
and then they
Yeah.
can go in and do that analysis and actually give their own definition of what they think is important,
Yes.
and then be able to analyze and take that analysis and evaluate whether or not that was good or bad.
Mhm.
Right? Use the subjective, the objective, and then determine
Mm.
was that a good outcome? Was that a
Yeah.
good experience for my
Mm.
customer, regardless of what happened in that interaction.
Yeah. That's awesome. One topic that often comes up when I have conversation with customers is language support.
it's a it's a very complex beast, Mark.
Yes, yes. So I so how do we talk about that, right? How do we talk about language support? I mean, obviously there's the element of I often hear two use cases. Obviously, for a global contact center, right?
Can I
You
ask you to stop there, Mark? You guys are
Okay.
pretenders.
Okay, go ahead.
Like, you think you get questions about language support? Yeah, like, oh, do you have Spanish? Yeah, right. Try working in APJ. Like, just
Okay.
the number of
Well, okay,
languages,
well,
even the number of languages within a
I
country.
pass the baton back to you, Doug.
No, but please continue with. I just didn't want you to pull rank there. Oh,
Yes.
my customers asked me about language. Like, come on. All right, so carry on now. Now that we've
Yeah.
established
So I think
pecking order.
there's to Doug's point, in terms of the amount of languages that we support
Yeah,
across,
yeah.
from a global perspective. I think then there's the intriguing aspect of things like language switching, right? And
Yeah,
when
yeah.
customers are switching, between Spanish and English, for example. Again, I'm going to use that as a as a simple example, but again, how does this new AI voice set of capabilities help us here?
Oh, I think this is where it gets really interesting on which path you could take, right?
Yeah.
So there's a couple different layers of all of this, right? There's the understanding layer,
Yeah.
right? Like can I actually understand that accent, that language, that locale,
Yeah.
that dialect? Can I actually understand that? And can I properly get either a transcription or a good understanding of what that is so that I can actually determine what to do next? So certainly, you've seen like some of our offerings of like giving more options for customers to make that selection. And without going into too much detail on what we're planning, you can kind of see what we're trying to do is give you the options for how to make this happen. The other thing is then the actual voice, right?
Mm.
Actually sound like the region, the locale, the way the speaker should sound, and then again other options for you to figure out how to can actually merge it all together. And then I think the last thing is like, well, so how do you then you take all that and then tie it dynamically
Mm.
to that experience,
Right.
because now you have a scenario where you have this understanding of that language, you have the voice of that language,
Mm.
and then you have you need some layer of reasoning to understand how to like reason through all of that,
Right.
and then jump between languages when that is applicable and appropriate.
Right.
And so what I think you're going to see, and what we're looking to do is how make it easier for you to like configure that experience,
Mm.
right? With different selections across your AI agents, different languages that you support. I would imagine, especially for customers who have IVRs and chat experiences today, you typically make that selection up front,
Yep.
and then you go down your path.
Well, that's always been the thing, right?
Yeah,
With
it's yeah.
flows, right?
Yeah.
Like,
First
you
first
get
question.
right?
Press one for
Yes.
English. Press 2 for Spanish. Press
right.
3 for
Yes,
this.
exactly.
And what I think you're going to start to see is that this the technology is going to move where this AI agent is going to move up front of that conversation. It's going to be at the beginning,
Right.
and so one, you'll be powered by some level of customer profile, right? The Mark calls in and
Yeah.
he's calling in from this number. I know his default language is this,
Right.
and then the AI agent will say, "Well, Mark, I think it's you. Would you like
Right,
to
this is- yeah.
speak in English, or would you like?" And you maybe say, "I don't know. I want to try Japanese today."
Right. Yes.
Right. And then from there, the rest of the conversation unfolds, and then you dynamically switch.
Mm.
And so the whole point here is that the AI agent is shifting its part of the process further left to the interaction,
Mm.
understanding the customer profile, customer context, and then giving you options to dynamically go between. Now, the challenge that I think customers are going to have, and we're going to have, is how do you make it easy to go from what you have today, which is very like siloed off,
Right.
and then to a world where you can just switch.
Mm.
Does that mean the workflows change? Does that mean the conversational structure changes? There's a lot going on there, and I don't know if we have that fully answered, but I know that's one of the bigger topics is
Because
that
it kind of
customer.
has that
Yeah,
downstream effect,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Because once you go down English, you may have support for that. You may have a queue for that,
Yeah.
but you don't have a queue for Spanish support.
Right.
And so, how do you handle a customer when you're going back and forth throughout the experience? And I think it just becomes a really interesting set of challenges for a customer. And I think the thing that's really fascinating, that's really going to change the way people think. And I don't know if I'm going to describe this really well, but in my head, you used to have to be so explicit on what you wanted to have happen in your conversational experience, right? You had to
Mhm.
say, press 1 to do this,
Right.
press 2 to do this.
Yeah.
Listen for Mark to say this word or Doug to
Mm.
say that word.
Right. Yeah.
But now you're going to a more implicit model where you're like, don't do this when that happens. Don't do that when this happens.
Yes.
And so how do you merge those things together? And I think that's a big challenge for customers is as how do I get from where I am today, where everything is explicitly built out and across multiple services or multiple capabilities to a more implicit where the AI agent's handling more of those things. So it's a different thought process
You've
that you have
almost
to go
flipped it
down.
on its head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've completely inverted, like the
Yeah.
technology has completely inverted the thought process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why you see things, us releasing things like guardrails and controls. And that's why we believe that the workflows and the deterministic experiences are really important,
Yeah.
right? And giving you the ability to customize all of those workflows to the level that you need them is the key piece here. And know that it's going to work. Like
Right.
that's what we're really getting to. So it's a long-winded way of saying like I think the language and locale support is a really complicated topic and it will certainly get more complicated and also easier at the same time
Yeah.
with AI just being better at understanding that language.
Right.
And I mean, that's one of the main challenges for the field team that I'm in, where it's how do you, and partners play a critical role in this. How do you educate a customer to the point where they understand that the reason they've been doing things the way they've been doing it was a limitation of the tools that they had? It's not actually what they wanted to do. You know, you had 3 things you could do in the contact center. You could, check your balance, pay your bill, whatever. But that's because that's all the tools allowed you to do. And now there's a whole piece of, well, the tools allow you to do more than that or different things or do it in a different way, exactly as you just described. So is that actually what we want the contact center to do now? Or is it in the customer experience space? Is that, or do we actually want to rethink what we're offering to customers and how we're offering it to them? And that's a really challenging conversation. One of my favorite analogies, and if anyone has time, is to go back to it's very easy to Google the first Amazon.com website,
Yeah.
which looks like it was made in GeoCities. It's hilarious.
Yes.
And then you look at the website now, to the point where it even has Rufus and all those kinds of things. And having that same view, because basically what most contact centers are like, I think are still like that first Amazon.com website, but for voice. It's that equivalent. And we're now offering, well, you can have something like Amazon.com today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can you, like, my job is to help
make
you
that jump.
Yeah.
Right. That's a big jump to make, right?
It's a big jump. It's a big jump.
Yeah.
But we are at time, I think. As usual, we've blown past our invented time limit of 30 minutes. I don't know quite why we decided that, but it's
I don't know why we did, but I think we tried to squeeze it into a gym workout. That's been the goal.
I get it. So we're gonna snap the line, and I'm gonna go listen to this while I'm at the gym tonight.
So, Mark, I'll leave it to you to close out. Is there anything you want to finish with Keith before
No,
we
I
sign
mean,
off?
I think Keith, is there anything we did touch on? I mean,
Oh, there was one more thing that I
Okay.
wanted to touch on.
Totally.
yes.
Yeah.
And I'll sneak this in at the end here.
Totally.
So we
Steve
talked.
Jobs, you.
Hey, I gotta sell the product. The thing that we didn't talk about, and Doug, you started the conversation with flows.
Yeah.
One of the things that we have been really focused on is making it easier for you to configure flows without going into the nuts and bolts of everything, right?
Yeah.
Typically flows is kind of like an engine of a car, right? It's a nervous system. You don't want anybody just going in there and fitting finagling with
you
their
need a
thing.
mechanic.
You need a mechanic, right? Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
Right.
That's not my that's not my thing.
Yes.
And so one of the things that we just released is the ability to have configurable business UIs, and that was a partnership across multiple different teams within Amazon Connect.
Yes.
Basically, it's an easy way for you to create a UI experience where you can have a business user go and control specific parts of Amazon Connect.
Emergency hours.
Emergency hours. Perfect example. Like you're in the middle of the night, something's gone wrong. You can go into Amazon Connect. You can see this UI. You can change the messaging. You can change the queue
Most
routing.
that business user.
Yeah, the business user can do that, right? So that I think the key theme here that you're kind of seeing throughout the entire conversation is not only customization and flexibility, but also approachability.
Yeah.
right? The
Totally.
ability to like accessibility in the way that anybody can use it and actually like configure not just a basic thing, but actually an advanced thing.
Mm.
And so I'm really excited about that feature because one of the key things I hear from customers is like, well, I just want to touch that flow, but I don't want to go through the deployment process or any update process. I don't want to have to worry about creating a bunch of DynamoDB tables. Those data tables are now in Amazon Connect. You can manage it that way.
Yes.
Those
We're
are all
going to talk
natively
about that
integrated
next
in.
week.
Yeah.
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 In flows, you can do it that way. I'll save that for the next conversation. But that's one of the things is kind of tie the bow together is that you have these deterministic generative experiences. All of them come together through a centralized orchestration layer.
It
You have the
resolves
observability, analytics, everything.
That's
it resolves that tension that's always been in the contact center between the people who have the power to decide what changes should be made and the people who have the capability to implement the changes.
Yeah.
So the
Yep.
power to
Yeah.
decide is, hey, I want to change the hours.
Yes.
Oh, IT's asleep, or the people who that require 24 hours, or they got other things to do. Yeah. So it's actually I've got the power to decide, and also I now have the capability to implement the change.
Yeah, and,
But with
essentially
that,
you're giving your IT team to create self-service.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
And
is-
then they can go off and do more
Yes.
complicated IT
Exactly,
things.
100%. So
well,
cool.
let's all go off and do more complicated IT things because we're signing off, gentlemen. It's been a blast. Thank you so much, Keith. Enjoy the rest of reInvent,
Yep.
and really looking forward
All right.
to all the releases and hearing everything. See you guys.
Awesome.
Thanks, gents.
See ya.